Story 1. I am 43 and have all four of my wisdom teeth with no issues. My dentist says I should have them removed, but has not been able to explain why if they do not have cavities or any other problems. Story 2. I had all four of my wisdom teeth removed when I was in high school, all on the same day. It was not a pleasant experience, to say the least. Story 3. They are very foolish. My dentist says I probably would not have needed to get them removed if I only had four, but I have 6 of them. Story 4. Mine actually came in handy. I broke a molar and ultimately ended up having it extracted. The wisdom tooth behind it occupies virtually the same space with only a slight gap, so functionally everything is pretty much as it was before. Story 5. If they are impacted, they will damage your teeth and cause pain for a long time. I should have had mine removed when I was 18. I was very nervous about it, so I postponed it until I was 27. Once I had mine removed, I was no longer in pain. It was very good. Story 6. Mine started coming in when I was 23. I was working my first full-time job and was scared they would fire me if I took too much time off, so I just powered through it. I kept some caramel candies in the freezer so I could teeth on them like an infant. Weirdly, only 3 of them sprouted. The last one was too shy to ever make an appearance. So, evidently, I only have 75% of my wisdom teeth. Story 7. They can burn in hell. I have fully impacted wisdom teeth at a 90-degree angle on the bottom. The pain occurs when the gum near the left tooth gets infected, which has happened repeatedly due to the small cavity created by the sideways tooth. Most recently, I was awake for 3 solid days because of the pain. What do I have to look forward to? Either a difficult surgery to remove them or losing the adjacent teeth to make room. Story 8. All 4 of mine have fully erupted and function as well as the rest of my teeth. I take it this is not common, judging from the comments so far. Story 9. Do not get them removed later in life. I had many complications that were said to be common after the procedure, with 0 mention beforehand. A year later, I am still dealing with temporomandibular joint disorder, deep pocket irrigation every day, jaw dislocations, and weakness. I believe oral surgeons report 0 cases of any of this because they carefully avoid reporting complications and assign any problems to other causes. I have lost a lot of faith in dentistry through this. Story 10. I have all 4. They are great teeth, the best teeth. People have never seen anything like them. Many people are saying so. Story 11. Tried to ignore mine for years. It started to hurt so bad I couldn't eat properly for about 2 months while waiting for an appointment. Get that issue handled sooner rather than later. Story 1235. United Kingdom. Just had one removed literally an hour ago because it was growing sideways into my teeth and pushing them out. Extraction was all right. A bit uncomfortable. Feels better now. Story 13. I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled out at 16. Set me back about 7 years. All that wisdom just gone. I didn't get my life together until I was 29. What a setback. Story 14. I can feel my teeth coming in, but they do not hurt yet. Unless that happens, I am not getting them removed. Story 15. I have met 2 people in my life who were able to keep their wisdom teeth. Everybody else experienced significant misery. I was 16 when mine first started coming in, one at a time. All but one were impacted, and there was simply no room for eruption, so they were removed. My husband's wisdom teeth erupted when he was 24. All 4 came in within hours of each other. Surgery to remove them was the only option. Most people do not have the jaw space to accommodate wisdom teeth. Story 16. Unless they are causing issues or have decay, it is a cash grab for the dentist with unnecessary surgery. I am 60 with all 4 wisdom teeth. The bottom 2 are impacted. No issues. Story 17. Annoying and painful when they are coming in and it takes years. Hard to brush. 3 of mine developed cavities much faster than my other teeth and were difficult to remove. The last one seems to be doing all right though. Story 18. I had 6 wisdom teeth when they were removed. 2 were broken from grinding my teeth in my sleep, and 2 were impacted. Story 19. I have an amazing set of teeth and was able to keep them all. I enjoyed watching my siblings have theirs removed, though it looked like torture. Story 20. Definitely a feature no one asked for. The developers must have confused an intelligence request with something else. Story 21. Overhyped mouth gremlins. They show up uninvited, 'cause chaos, cost a fortune, and then get evicted. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Story 22. They did absolutely nothing for my wisdom. If anything, they harmed my constitution as I had to get them removed. Probably only reduced my hit points by 1, but still not cool. Story 23. I wasn't aware, and in my early 20s they pushed my teeth together and misaligned some of them. When I was younger, my teeth were so straight people asked if I had previously had braces. Get those removed. Story 24. Mine never really grew in, and my dentist said that as long as they do not hurt, do not worry about it. My brother does not even have them. We are more evolved. Story 25. I had chronic headaches for years and thought it was my superpower. I had my wisdom teeth removed, and I have had only 5 headaches since almost 8 years ago. I waited way too long. Well into my late 30s. Get them out of your head. Story 26. What does this even mean? I guess in general I like mine. I had 4 teeth removed to make room for braces, so they kind of fill the gaps at the back of my mouth. Story 27. I am 45 and have mine. My husband still has his at 48, and unless they are causing issues, we are leaving our kids alone. Story 28. I understand that many people have problems with them, but if they are not impacted or crowding, why undergo surgery? Disclosure. I have all of mine in and no issues. Story 29. I had severely impacted wisdom teeth that were never removed as a child or young adult. In my mid-30s, dentists were always amazed at how deep they were, but the conventional advice was that if they hadn't caused any problems, do not remove them, primarily because of the risk of nerve damage during extraction. Fast forward 20 years, I developed a cyst that was growing through my jawbone. I needed surgery to remove the cyst and the tooth and to have a bone graft. I was fortunate that the type of cyst I had did not require removal or resection of the jaw, but in some cases that is necessary. Apparently, cyst development, while not common, is a result of impacted wisdom teeth. Before all this, the advice I received was that if the teeth don't bother you, leave them. Now, it seems to me the best course of action is to have them removed. Story 30. I had mine taken out 2 months ago. I am 30 years old. They were not bothering me and there was no pain whatsoever. I did not realize they were there until my wife made me go to the dentist. The teeth came in impacted and one broke the root of a molar, so that also had to be taken out. Recovery was not bad either. The last thing I said before going under anesthesia was, "The one piece is real," which to me was the highlight of the experience. Story 31. I was born without wisdom teeth, so I do not have an opinion. On a side note, every new dentist I have had in my 50 or so years on Earth asks me about the terrible accident in which I lost my wisdom teeth. How exactly would I have smashed my wisdom teeth but not any of my other teeth? Story 32. Never thought about them then. At 26, I woke up with a migraine and a sore jaw. They were impacted and I had them removed 2 days later. I haven't thought about them since. Story 33. I was 19 when I had mine removed, so my brain was not fully developed yet. Even without them, I still feel relatively smart. I guess wisdom and intelligence are not exactly the same thing, so we will see if I display wisdom as life goes on. I have been a father for 4 years, so I am getting better but still learning. Story 34. I only have the top 2. I was born without the bottom teeth. They came in straight and do not cause any problems, so I ignore my dentist when he talks about removing them. Story 35. My implants have been gone for many years now. If you are hesitant about having them removed and they are causing you issues, it is not horrible if you keep the socket area flushed out. Story 36. My dentist advised me to get my wisdom teeth removed before they came in because there would not be enough room. That meant cutting my gums open and removing my teeth. I decided I was fine and did not go through with it. I waited for the wisdom teeth to come in, and guess what? Nothing happened. Story 37. My opinion is that it should 100% be covered by insurance. Through no fault of your own, you can end up in terrible pain and have your teeth become really damaged by them, but people have to pay thousands to get them removed. It is madness. Story 38. Keep them unless there is a problem. Mine were impacted. I had them removed around the age of 26 or 27. I could not afford laughing gas, so I had local anesthesia and was awake for the entire procedure. I felt no pain during the procedure, but the sound of teeth being drilled or cracked is unpleasant. Story 39. I still have 4. I am 26 years old. I have never had any problems with them. I hope it will be the same for the rest of my life. Humans have had teeth problems for ages. It is a very complex topic. Story 40. I am a dental student. I wish I had mine taken out. I had 2. I now have 16 and 32, upper left and bottom right. Both are non-functioning and will only cause issues for me down the line. One is vertically impacted, meaning if it were to grow, it would only grow into the roots of my second molar. The other is slightly tipped, so it is hard to clean. Story 41. One of the last things I made sure the military did for me was to pull all 4 of them before I got out. I had to take advantage of the health care the United States provides its service members. Story 42. I still have 3 of my wisdom teeth and I am over 40. I had one pulled a few years ago because it had a cavity. The dentist said to have it removed instead of filled due to the location of the cavity. Story 43. The reason we tell you to remove them: 1. You are not cleaning them effectively, and it is unhygienic. We cannot clean them effectively, and we know where it is headed. Some people allow zero access. It is very close to your facial nerve. When we are young, the roots are small, making removal easier. If a problem occurs later when the roots are fully developed, removal could potentially paralyze your face. If we cannot remove them due to nerve proximity and poor access, and a problem arises, we may have to break the jaw to address it. That is why. Additional concerns include crowding, potential migraines depending on which nerves they grow alongside, and other related issues. Story 44. I had one that never grew in. I had to have it removed because it was rubbing against a back molar. Story 45. Mine were all impacted, so I had to get them removed at age 12 before getting braces. This was to prevent pain and damage to my teeth once they were straightened. Story 46. Mine actually grew in perfectly fine and caused no pain. The only issue with them is that because they are so far back, it can be very hard to keep them clean. I switched to an electric toothbrush because there was not enough room to brush properly with a regular manual toothbrush. Story 47. Had my teeth pulled in my late 30s. The lower teeth were surfaced and impacted, and the roots of the upper teeth penetrated my sinuses, so it required more delicate work. I went to an expensive specialist, but I think he did a great job because I had zero pain and no issues. No regrets. Story 48. Please just grow properly. Context. I have all 4 impacted teeth. One was so bad it dislodged another tooth. I had multiple surgeries for that. I never had surgeries before these. The dentist said my teeth might have been the strongest set she has worked with because it felt like she was working in construction trying to extract them. Story 49. One of my parents had all 4 wisdom teeth, and the other did not have any. I have 2 on top. One came through when I was in my 20s, and there was no room, so it started to rub a hole in my cheek. I had it pulled. The other one did not come in until a few years later, but I also had it pulled without any issues. I should mention that I had to get 5 teeth pulled as a teenager to get braces because there was no room for them once my teeth were straightened and my bite was fixed. My daughter had all 4 wisdom teeth, which needed to be removed, and my oldest grandson only had 2 on the bottom. Genetics is interesting. Story 50. They serve no purpose except to cause pain, cost money, and give you swollen cheeks for a week. Basically, they are like the Kardashians of teeth. Story 51. Too many are removed unnecessarily. Most that are removed can be done comfortably without sedation, using only local anesthetic. Story 52. 3/4 were impacted. I had a cracked molar removed so one had room to grow in. The relief I felt in terms of my temporomandibular joint was amazing. I had horrible temporomandibular joint issues as a teenager, but once I got them removed, my jaw was less sore and irritated. It can definitely be necessary for some people to get them removed. My temporomandibular joint hardly bothers me now. Story 53. Take them out in your 20s if they have not fully come in without issue. I personally know a woman who left hers in because they did not erupt and did not cause her any problems until she was in her early 50s and started having pain in her lower jaw. The roots of the wisdom tooth in that area had grown around her lower jawbone. She had to have the tooth removed and almost had to have a section of her jawbone removed as well. Story 54. I have all 4 wisdom teeth, along with 2 extra teeth that emerged from the gum line, and 2 extra teeth that have not emerged. In total, I have 4 extra teeth in addition to my wisdom teeth, making 8 extra teeth. Story 55. I need 3 teeth removed because there is not enough room for them, and they are causing a lot of nerve pain. However, the care is very expensive. The extractions would cost about the same as, or slightly more than, 1 month of rent, which is $1,215. Story 56. Well, all 4 of mine arrived in perfect condition. I never experienced any pain or problems with them. Therefore, they can remain in my mouth. Story 57. Overrated. If they were so wise, they would not pick a fight with the other teeth and need to be removed. Story 58. Mine was removed at 18 by the army because they said I should, even though they were not crooked or damaged in any way. Story 59. I had a tooth removed by a dentist after I told them not to. They did it anyway. I was very upset and never returned to that dentist. Now I have more saliva in my mouth, and it is very annoying and frustrating to think that a dentist made this decision for me. No, I did not sue, and yes, I know I could have. Despite what they say, you do not need teeth removed unless there are problems with pain or a cavity is forming. Story 60. Wisdom teeth that are impacted, meaning stuck in the wrong place or at the wrong angle, have a higher risk of developing infections, cysts, or causing resorption of the neighboring tooth. A problem is not certain to happen but does have a higher chance of occurring. Removal of wisdom teeth before the roots are fully developed is a helpful way to reduce the risk of unexpected problems. If you reach your 30s or 40s without issues, the likelihood of a problem is lower. However, if you develop a problem after the roots have fully formed, removal of the wisdom teeth is much more complicated. The extraction can involve the risk of damage to the inferior alveolar nerve, which may cause temporary or permanent numbness on that side of your jaw. Dentists are not conspiring against you, but are trying to help you avoid surprise infections and pain in your mouth. Story 61. If my wisdom teeth had been growing sideways into my other teeth, which would have eventually broken them, I would have just left them in, to be honest. Story 62. I have all of mine. They came in straight and with plenty of room. The dentist says I am in good condition as long as I can keep them clean, which is a challenge. I need a long floss handle to reach far back there. Story 63. It is better not to have them, and if you do, it is preferable not to pay for their removal. Story 64. I still have mine. Out of me and my 5 siblings, mine were the only ones to grow in straight, so I did not need them taken out. I am glad I have them because they helped close many of the gaps I had in my teeth. Story 65. One of mine came in literally 90 degrees off its designed position. It's like a higher power, evolution, or John Carmack just got the flu and let an intern do that part of the body. Story 66. Remove those teeth as they will only cause problems in the future. Mine were impacted and would not emerge through my gums, so I had to have them removed. Story 67. I'm told they should come out, but they aren't causing any problems. One of them has partially erupted and is a nice, fun challenge to brush. Last year, the orthodontist's X-ray found my hidden 5th wisdom tooth. It is a small, undeveloped tooth deep in the bone. I said he looks very happy there, so let's not disturb him. I am 43 years old and do not need this. Story 68. Remove as early as possible if given the opportunity. I had my last 2 removed at age 50, which required surgery and resulted in nerve damage. I lost my sense of taste and could not feel my lower lip and chin for a long time. Luckily, I recovered, but the realization that I might not be able to taste food for the rest of my life was shocking. Story 69. The easiest way to obtain a bottle of pain medication and an excuse to stay home for a week while recovering in high school. Story 70. I am 35 and had my wisdom teeth removed 2 months ago. Only the top teeth were extracted, and they were impacted, so I was told they would not come down. Fast forward to today, I have temporomandibular joint issues and sinus problems. I was told that if I have the wisdom teeth removed, it should improve. I have not had jaw pain since. Story 71. I loved it. I was on medication and ate ice cream for days while watching Federico Fellini films. My face did not swell up that much. Story 72. My wisdom teeth caused me the most pain I have ever felt in my life. I have large teeth and a small mouth, so they were growing in sideways and pressing against my molars. The pain was unbelievable. So forget them. Story 73. I'm not sure what you mean by opinion, but mine could have killed me. I wish I were joking. I had one grow in sideways and it was drifting. Over time, it wore a hole in the next tooth and caused a severe infection. I was on multiple courses of antibiotics that only worked while I was taking them. Eventually, I had to get 2 of the teeth pulled, including the one that was damaged. I am still healing almost 6 months later. Story 74. I did not have any issues with mine until I was in my early 20s. Then I started having jaw pain and headaches that were, unsurprisingly, due to my wisdom teeth. All 4 were impacted. 2 were turned sideways. 1 had a root wrapped around a nerve and had to be cut out in 7 pieces, but there was no nerve damage. It was not a fun process to have them removed, but it was the right decision. My dad never had his removed and has never had any problems with them. Story 75. I hate them. One of my wisdom teeth was growing in very early, so my dentist removed my molar to prevent pain since it was pushing into my other teeth. A year later, I had to get 8 teeth pulled because they started growing in and pushing against my teeth again. I lost 4 molars and 4 wisdom teeth, and they also had to remove another tooth to access the first wisdom tooth that grew. This is just my personal experience. Story 76. They are not reliable. All of mine have problems, and they are pushing the rest of my very straight teeth, making one slightly crooked. Story 77. I had my wisdom teeth removed at 17 because they were painful and threatened to undo the extensive work I had done with braces. I have a small mouth and there was not enough room for them. I know several people who have their wisdom teeth and they are causing no problems at all. Story 78. I let mine grow in. I would not recommend it. My teeth pushed against my bottom teeth and constantly became infected inside my mouth. It is not that I wanted to, I just grew up really poor and never had insurance. I have them removed now, and my mouth feels great. There is no more pain so severe that I could not open my jaw for 2 or 3 days. Story 79. Got mine out at around 27. There was an issue and I needed oral surgery. I also warned them about medications and people with red hair, but they did not listen. I felt the last one. Story 80. I am 46 and still have mine. They are all sideways but do not cause me any problems. The dentist says to leave them. Story 81. I had mine scheduled to be removed during my time in the United States Air Force. I got all the way to the chair on the day of my surgery and the new surgeon said, I looked at your records and scans and I'll leave it up to you. They should come out, but they do not need to come out. You may have problems with them down the road. I left the hospital quickly. I am 42 now and have had no issues. Story 82. I have 3. I had 1 pulled when I was in my 20s because it had a bad cavity. I am 47, and the other 3 are good. Story 83. I had mine removed when I was 17. I have a small mouth and already had crowding before they started showing up. Story 84. As I only have a nub, my dental hygienist calls it a lucky nugget, where a wisdom tooth might go. I am not sure I am allowed to have an opinion. Story 85. I miss mine. I had 1 develop a cavity, but no dentist would put a filling in it. One day, the tooth just fell apart and I had to get it removed. Since I was having 1 removed, I had them all removed and underwent oral surgery because the tooth was too close to a nerve. The funny thing is the place where I had the surgery was a smaller facility in the network, and it was a breeze, costing only about $400 total. It was great. No lasting pain. I also learned opioids don't really do much for me. Story 86. They were growing sideways into my other teeth and had to be removed because they caused me pain. The removal was painful and expensive. Story 87. My tooth grew in sideways and messed up the work done by my braces in middle school. I then took too much pain medication because the doctor told me to take it until the pain stops. The only reason my parents did not take me to the emergency room for that potential overdose was because it was the 1990s. I have never vomited so much in my life. My biggest tooth was cut into 6 pieces, my smallest into 4. While I was under anesthesia, I had a dream I was playing chess with the Grim Reaper in complete darkness. We did not finish the game. Those are all facts. Wisdom teeth are problematic. There you go. Story 88. Like many people, I have my wisdom teeth. My dentist says they need to come out but cannot clearly explain why, just mentioning possible future problems. There is no crowding or cavities on them. It is a bit embarrassing to admit, but they are probably my best teeth. I went in to have 2 molars pulled that I broke on popcorn kernels. When I visited billing, the price seemed very high, and I realized they wanted to pull 6 teeth. They essentially tried to sneak that by me. Story 89. Get them out before you are 21. After that, there is a higher chance of infection and inflammation. If they are erupted, they are food and bacteria traps, located so far back in your mouth that they are harder to keep clean. If you are over 21 and they are symptomatic, get them removed and do not wait until they get worse. The older you get, the longer it takes to recover, and there are more risks associated with the procedure itself. Story 90. I have all 4 of my wisdom teeth, but my dentist removed my top 2nd molars as a teenager to ensure there would be no complications. Story 91. I miss mine. I would have been able to keep them if I had taken better care to clean them in my younger years, or if the dentists had not refused to fix the cavities. However, all of them had to be removed at age 32 because one kept getting infected. Story 92. I happened to have room for all to come in just fine, except the one that somehow rotted before it crowned, painfully pushing shards of tooth out of my gums for a week or so until extraction. Old-fashioned extraction. 2. No x-rays or advanced machines. That keeps this visit affordable. Just the dentist, his elbow grease, a seam ripper-looking tool, and a perpetual water fountain. The dentist was like 80 years old, and it took all his strength to dislodge the tooth. He almost gave me whiplash pulling it out, all while his wife pleasantly looked on, hands clasped behind her back, wearing a wan smile. After it was all done, they let me keep the tooth and informed me that 2 of my molars were actually baby teeth and there were no adult teeth to be expected. They told me how to take care of those without dentistry, which proved very valuable. They also tried to get me to join their Lutheran church, but that was fine. It was a strange experience, but it only cost $80. Thanks, Dr. Dean, though he is probably around 100 years old or deceased now. Story 93. I was born without wisdom teeth, as were my father, my mother, and somehow my boyfriend too. My orthodontist thought I had them removed when he saw my x-rays, but no, they were never there. Story 94. When I was 22, I had one side removed. The x-rays showed that only one side was impacted, so I agreed to have only those removed. It was not a big deal and recovery was easy. Then last year, the teeth on the other side, which had become impacted, broke through and caused me a lot of pain. Having them removed at 44 was awful. The recovery was much longer and much more painful. I do not recommend it. Story 95. My dad still has his and he has not had an issue. My bottom ones came in perfectly straight and were not bothering me. But my dentist wanted to remove them because there was a flap of my gums that could trap food and become infected. I had them removed and my recovery was very easy. I was back to work the next day and did not need pain medication after the day of the surgery. Story 96. I get to keep all of mine. They grew in perfectly straight. I use a water flosser to keep them healthy. I am 51 years old. and they just told me the gums are slightly receded, but a water flosser can help with that. Story 97. I had all four wisdom teeth removed when I was about 20 years old. My older sisters had their wisdom teeth removed, and they appeared miserable, so it was already on my mind before I had the procedure. I had an irrational fear of needles, so the dentist told me I needed to relax because my heart rate was high. They gave me general anesthesia, and after that, everything went smoothly. I did not have any pain afterward. Story 98. Mine were partially covered by my gums. While they did not hurt me, they developed cavities that would be difficult to fill. So the dentist recommended removal to prevent infection and decay from spreading to my other teeth. I took his word for it. I was not a fan of the procedure and recovery, but that was more than 25 years ago, so I am over it. Story 99. Still have mine. It took a long time for them to fully come in, if they are even all the way in now. In my early 20s, they were still under the gums and would cause my gums to be somewhat raw, but it was not anything unbearable. Now I do not even notice them. Story 100. I only had one tooth come in. It was actually in my jaw and had to be broken and removed surgically, or I would have ended up with an infection. It never would have surfaced properly. I was told I was an evolved human because only one tooth came in. Story 101. I had all four removed at the same time when I was 19 under general anesthesia. Two on one side were impacted. The other two were not impacted but were painful when they were trying to break through my gums. They were pushing against my back molars, messing up my bite, and causing my jaw to ache. They definitely all needed to come out. Story 102. I had my teeth pulled as a teenager. As an adult approaching middle age, I cannot imagine fitting any more teeth in my head. I am very glad that I removed them when I was young. Story 103. I still have all four of mine. Very few issues. One is fully in. One is partially in. Two are still completely in the gums. Story 104. For something called wisdom teeth, it seems quite unwise that they usually need to be painfully removed. Not wise indeed. Story 105. It hurt a lot and didn't make me any smarter. Also, the dentist definitely gave me too much medication. She gave me 5 mystery pills to swallow and had me wait 20 minutes before pulling my impacted wisdom tooth. I remember almost nothing after walking into the room. I went home and slept for 16 straight hours. Apparently got up at one point and played with my young son under supervision, and remembered nothing. It wasn't like the funny videos of people saying strange things. I was just completely out of it. I don't know what she gave me, but it was way too much. I woke up the next day feeling like I had been blackout drunk the night before. Story 106. Had all 4 teeth pulled at the same time, along with 2 impacted molars. All 4 wisdom teeth were impacted, and these 2 plus the 2 molars were fused to the bone. My wisdom teeth grew in horizontally back to front and pushed my molars into the bone. They were so deep that they were under the gums and could not be felt. I had to see an oral and maxillofacial surgeon for removal under general anesthesia. He had to perform a bone graft on my jawbone to fill the holes left behind. I developed dry socket on both sides of my face. It was extremely painful for a full week. Imagine a migraine that starts in your sinuses, is located right behind your eyeballs, and lasts for a week. If you try to yawn or take a deep breath, the pain intensifies severely. Story 107. I had them removed years ago and had to be put under because there was no way I would have stayed calm if I had been awake. Story 108. I had 4 teeth pulled, then had one pulled again because a root tip broke off and the dentist did not see it. I would not recommend this experience. Story 109. I am 37 and had them removed at 18 because they were making all of my teeth crooked as they were coming in. I had them taken out, then wore braces for 1.5 years, and I am good now. Story 110. I do not know if this is still the policy, but the Peace Corps made me pull them, no actual problems, before I left the United States. This was back in the 1980s. I guess the simple risk of an issue overseas was not worth leaving them in. I cannot remember if they paid or I did. Story 111. I had mine removed 8 days ago. I am 53 years old. Mine never hurt, but the bottom 2 were impacted and had some decay. It is very hard to prevent that with impacted teeth. One of the upper teeth had broken off almost 15 years ago, so they removed the remaining root and also took out the only really non-problematic one. I received local anesthetic for the procedure, and it was fine. Apparently, the removal of the impacted teeth was somewhat difficult, which aligns with it becoming more challenging in older patients. Story 112. Do you think we get an opinion about wisdom teeth? No, I do not want them. I do not care. I have mine and never had a problem. My dentists have all told me I might as well keep them. There was no question my son's wisdom teeth would need to be removed. Before getting braces, x-rays showed they were sideways. Story 113. When I was 12, I had a molar extracted. I was terrified of the dentist, so my care was neglected until I was in pain. This left a large gap in my mouth. Eventually, my wisdom teeth grew in, and the one in that area pushed its way through, moving another tooth forward to completely fill the gap. The other 3 wisdom teeth were removed. Story 114. Why are they called wisdom teeth? That is what I want to know. Most of us have to get them removed at some point. Story 115. What a strange question. People have wisdom teeth. Some people need them removed. Dental surgery is unpleasant but necessary. What other opinions could people possibly have on wisdom teeth? Story 116. I would still have mine if I could. They came through when I was around 17 to 19 years old. Had plenty of room. Unfortunately, after a few years, I had to remove them as they were rotting from the gums down. The surgeon told me the head of the tooth was protected with enamel. The base where it met the gums was not. Nothing would have prevented it from happening. If I had been extra diligent with cleaning, I might have gotten a few more years of use out of them. I didn't even know they were decaying until I ran my finger behind them as I had some biscuit buildup stuck there from snacking. I felt something sharp. It was my tooth. If I had my x-rays still, I would load them. Double roots and extra long. I remember kind of waking up mid-procedure to the surgeon hitting, I presume, a chisel with a small hammer to break the teeth apart. Story 117. Opinion? Why would you have an opinion? Either they are causing problems and you should remove them, or they are not, and then they are just more molars to brush. Story 118. They caused me a number of issues. A compacted tooth here, an abscess there, and so on, until I had them all removed at once. After that, everything was great. I also had no issues after they were removed. The next day, I was a little sore but quickly back to normal, with no pain. Lucky, I guess. Story 119. I did not get my wisdom teeth pulled when I was a child, and I am in my 40s. I did have my top left wisdom tooth pulled because it was causing pressure on my other teeth and chipping them, but it fully came through before it was pulled. My bottom left wisdom tooth is currently coming through. I did not think it was going to, but now it is. However, it is not causing any pain or issues. I will probably have it pulled once it comes all the way through. My top and bottom right wisdom teeth are still in my gums with no issues. They are pressed against my teeth but are not causing any problems. Story 120. Mine came in almost completely horizontal. I had to remove all of them. It was my first time under anesthesia, which was interesting. I remember sitting in the chair, and the technician told me, "In a few seconds, you will feel the room spin." As soon as he said that, that is exactly what happened. Then I woke up at home in my bed with zero memory of anything in between. Story 121. I am 35 years old. They were just fine until I was 33. Then they got impacted and infected, and that was very painful. Having them removed was not a problem. The toothache hurt. The post-removal period was a bit sore and slightly uncomfortable, but I would not say it hurt. Story 122. Every visit since I was 16, they have been telling me they need to come out because they are going to be an issue. On the one side where I only have one, it is going to drop too low. I am 35. They just do their job in the back. It is a racket. Story 123. Every dentist until about age 50 wanted to pull my teeth because I had insurance, an easy way for them to increase their business. I always replied that I was using them. They were aligned and not causing any problems. I have 3 remaining teeth and I am of Medicare age. I know I have a wide bite and would not have the problems many others have. Story 124. For being so wise, they sure do stupid things like grow sideways. I need my lower two teeth removed, and it's only a matter of time before they affect the other teeth. Story 125. I am 32 years old. They have not bothered me at all until last week. One of the top teeth is growing into my cheek, and now I cannot open my mouth fully. I am having both top teeth removed on Tuesday. Story 126. It's a case-by-case situation. Some people can go their whole lives without them becoming a problem. I think some places tend to remove them early as a preventative maintenance measure because there is little downside to removing them but possible significant downsides to not removing them. Story 127. My dentist told me that my jaw will end up breaking, which is very concerning. I am still not getting my wisdom teeth removed. I watched children have their wisdom teeth removed in high school, and they were miserable for quite a while. Story 128. My teeth were removed at age 16 because they would have damaged my other teeth. There was only enough room in my mouth for the existing teeth. Story 129. I do not think there is anything wise about them. Most people would be wise to have them removed. Story 130. I'm 35 and still have mine. My current dentist did not mention them. I will not have them removed unless absolutely necessary because I have sleep apnea. Once they are removed, it will make my airway even narrower, and I need all the space I can get. Story 131. Expanded functions dental assistant here. Unless the teeth are impacted, do not get them removed no matter what your dentist says. You can end up with lifelong dry sockets, and your other teeth can drift apart and become mobile without your wisdom teeth to take up space and push your teeth together. Dentistry is set up more like a business, and wisdom teeth removal has become the default procedure over time, similar to circumcision. Story 132. I have to get mine out, and the doctor canceled the appointment. Now I have to wait weeks. Oh, and they also serve no purpose anymore and haven't for hundreds of years. Where is evolution when I need it? Story 133. Mine never grew in. I simply never got any. I also did not gain the wisdom normally associated with having the teeth, so I am a dumb, toothless fellow. Story 134. 25 years ago, a dentist told me one of my wisdom teeth was impacting another tooth, and I would be calling him in about a year with a toothache to get it taken care of. However, I could wait for now. It has been 25 years, and I have not had a toothache yet. Story 135. They are great when they fit, like mine did, but they are softer and more susceptible to decay than other molars. Even if they come in properly, they might need to be extracted later. Story 136. My dentist in my teenage years said to keep my wisdom teeth until they bothered me. In my 30s, they started bothering me one at a time. The last one came out about 3 years ago. It developed a very bad cavity suddenly, and the pain was excruciating. I am glad to have those teeth removed now. The third tooth started pinching a nerve. I do not recall what led to the removal of the first and second teeth, but I am sure pain was involved. It is strange that they were impacted when I was 18, but they adjusted at some point and were no longer impacted. They all eventually caused pain. The removal of the second tooth resulted in infectious colitis due to questionable sanitation practices by the oral surgeon. That was an experience I never want to have again. Story 137. I was born without any wisdom teeth. I understand it is becoming more common as humans have evolved to a diet that does not really require them. Story 138. It is quite easy for a dentist to determine the likelihood of future issues involving your wisdom teeth after you reach 14 to 19 years of age. Story 139. I am in my 50s and my fourth wisdom tooth erupted 8 months ago. I thought I was well past the age of growing new teeth, but no. I can only hope this one will not need to be removed like the other 3 did. Having a wisdom tooth pulled is no joke. I had to go to the hospital 3 times, and each time I left without a wisdom tooth and with severe neck swelling. The swelling was ridiculous. Story 140. I have only one wisdom tooth left, and I have just found out that although it is perfectly good, it needs to be removed because its neighbor has a cavity under a filling on the side. Extraction of the wisdom tooth will also be required. So that is it for me. The little wisdom I had will be gone. Story 141. Mine have perfect space and are normal. I think it is the Western genes that are making jaws smaller and causing all the issues, probably because of a soft diet for generations. Story 142. When I had all my teeth pulled out, they gave me a prescription for Vicodin, which started a lifetime struggle with opioid addiction. Story 143. Good for clerics and monks, but if you are going to be a frontline fighter, you will need constitution and strength. Story 144. I had mine removed right before my second year of college. They were causing me headaches. After the removal, I no longer had headaches, and it helped me build up a tolerance for anesthesia, as I later had unrelated surgeries requiring higher amounts of anesthesia. Story 145. Awful. When I was getting mine removed, my dentist struggled to extract them because they kept spinning in the sockets. Thankfully, I was numbed, but it was the weirdest feeling ever. Story 146. Mine were all impacted at the same time, so I was able to have them all removed on the same day. If the surgeon asks if you want to see yours, just say no. Mine looked like Kraken devil teeth, and I would have been okay not knowing something that evil was ever attached to my jaw. Story 147. Well, that depends. If coming in at the right angle, you may need them in 70 years to eat your meat. Sadly, that does not happen often. I had 3 coming in right, but they removed them all. The only issues I have had since were bone spurs growing where they used to be. That is because of an inflammatory disease reaction and not the norm. I hope you get the outcome you desire and do not use a straw. Dry sockets are no fun. Best of luck. Story 148. There are a few people in my family who have all of their wisdom teeth. All of mine had to be removed. My brother only had his lower wisdom teeth removed because his upper wisdom teeth never grew in, and we are in our 30s. Story 149. I have been told my tooth was partially erupted when I was 16. It is still like that 14 years later, and I feel nothing. Story 150. Great topic. Healthy wisdom teeth by themselves are not a specific issue. However, there is a latent factor that can and frequently does occur later in life. Wisdom teeth as a late addition to the typically well-established jawbone structure cause the other teeth to begin crowding. The overlapping and tight tooth-to-tooth contact create bacterial harbors that become cavities and gum disease. These problems are often ignored and are the source of a new kind of problem, cardiovascular disease. Story 151. I still have all 4 of mine. I am 60 years old. Every dentist has wanted to pull them to avoid future problems. Using that philosophy, I would have had my healthy appendix removed years ago. The last time I changed dentists, my new dentist asked me why I was changing. I said, because my previous dentist wouldn't stop talking about my wisdom teeth. She hasn't said anything about them since. The real reason I switched dentists was insurance, but she did not need to know that. Story 152. I have only one tooth that was removed because it developed a hole on the side, and fixing it was difficult. One tooth is completely hidden and not sideways, so it is not a problem. I lost one large tooth on the bottom decades ago and never had it replaced. This created space for the wisdom tooth to shift and avoid becoming problematic. The bottom right tooth may need removal in the future as it shows signs of developing a hole, and fixing it is difficult in that spot. Story 153. Mine were totally fine until they were not in my mid-30s. It caused me massive discomfort and I had 3 of 4 removed. It was a game changer. The operation was a breeze and had no complications. My entire head felt immensely better afterwards. Story 154. My bottoms are growing perpendicular to the rest of the group, so I am a bit biased toward the negative end. Story 155. I have known a few people who have had no issues with theirs, but for the most part, they become a source of great pain. I encourage getting rid of them as soon as possible, especially if you can get some kind of insurance that will cover most or all of it. Story 156. I have a small mouth and all 4 of my wisdom teeth were impacted, so I had to get them removed. It wasn't until later in life that I learned some people's wisdom teeth grow in normally. I never knew why you would remove them unless they were like mine. Story 157. I had one come in clean, two sideways, and my top left tooth that actually rubbed against my lower jaw when it moved. I had all four removed in my mid-20s since one tooth against the gum is pretty useless. I had no swelling or pain, so good on you, oral surgeon. Story 158. My upper teeth are two of the best in my mouth, as they did not have to endure my irresponsible childhood. My two lower teeth were impacted and had to be removed. They threatened my upper teeth, but I prevented that. Story 159. Imagine being so indoctrinated that you are happy yours were removed even if they caused no issues. Story 160. Had mine removed at 22, all four at once. It hurt badly for the first 2 or 3 days. I don't feel any less wise. Story 161. I have never had mine removed, and I don't feel wiser than those who have. Basically, your dentist will advise you not to remove them if they are not causing any problems. At least, that is what the 2 dentists I have visited in the last 20 to 30 years have told me. Why spend a week dealing with recovery and expense if there is no problem to be solved? Dentists can usually tell early if wisdom teeth are likely to cause issues later on. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.